Good afternoon and welcome to Zazy's webinar. My name is Justin and I work in our Technology and Business Solutions team. If you have any questions, please can you put them in the chat box and we'll address those at the end. So, the word digital, as in digital age and digital government, is often used to describe the improved use of technology, the improved use of digital resources and better information management. Today we're going to share with you how Bristol City Council's use of both technology and also forward thinking resulted in a smarter way of working across the council. Right, well, I'm joined here today by Robin Lewis, who is the Electronic Document and Record Management Domain Manager from Bristol City Council, and also from Michael Smith from Ephesoft, who are the experts in smart capture. So Bristol City Council is well known for being at the forefront of digital transformation. They happened to select Alfresco's open source EDRM platform coupled with Ephesoft's smart capture scanning solution because what they wanted to do was deliver a secure, unified mobile content management platform as well as collaboration capabilities. Well, that's enough for me. Over to our first speaker, Michael, who is one of their senior account managers from Ephesoft.
So, I'm Michael Smith. Good afternoon. I'm the Senior Account Manager here at Ephesoft, where we have created a simpler, elegant and more powerful approach to document classification and data extraction. Ephesoft is changing the landscape of capture by offering a completely different approach to the market while keeping the same deep functional capabilities as any enterprise legacy capture solution. In today's digital world, businesses need to adapt quicker than ever, and this is constantly reshaping business models. Nothing remains the same anymore, and staying competitive means getting much more agile, adaptive and aligned. And digital also presents a lot of opportunities to stand out in today's competitive landscape and to outperform the industry rivals. So in today's presentation, we're going to let you discover how Alfresco and Ephesoft can lead all departments, especially those with lots of documents to process, with our outstanding technology that will give you a massive return on investment in a short period of time. So if I give you a little bit of background on Ephesoft, in the same way as many workers at Alfresco and the executives were used to work in proprietary software, and Alfresco is open source, many of our executives here at Ephesoft also used to work in proprietary software in the capture industry at Kofax. We had the first mortgage classification project at Ephesoft, and we are really bringing innovation to a stagnant industry. The company started in 2010 in Laguna Hills in Southern California, where our HQ is, and we have offices in London, Rome and India. Our investors include Fujitsu, our compound annual growth rates over 100%, and this meant that we are the 418th fastest growing company on the 2015 top 500 list. So, a machine that learns from experience, 1,014 trillion synapses in the brain, is our marketing department's clever metaphor for how Ephesoft works in terms of its connections. It sounds a bit like the plot for a science fiction movie, but Ephesoft Smart Capture technology is real. It offers supervised learning, so users can quickly respond to the evolving document reading challenges via the software's verification interface. And in the meantime, the software itself actually continues to get smarter as it recognizes, sorts and extracts data from unstructured documents, even in formats it's never seen before. And this is because the Smart Capture actually focuses on reading the document content, extracting and interpreting its data, whilst simultaneously validating it faster than any employee. Now, if you consider the fact that immediately after installation, Smart Capture technology can do all this whilst routinely achieving an average field level extraction of 95% or more. So it pulls key information directly from paper and electronic documents of all types, faster and more accurately than other technologies, without requiring templates, anchors, zones. And it's been engineered to identify and make sense of a wide variety of documents, regardless of their source or size, use of symbols, language, formatting, or image quality. Now, if we look at a simple overview of the process, Ephesoft looks at the documents from several sources, and it adds value to these documents by passing them on to other systems that can use that information. So it's not a repository or a document or data retrieval system, but a value-add application for the document pre-processing. We offer a perfect multi-language OCR, OMR, and ICR solution for all requirements, whether the documents come from email attachments, web scanning, watch folders, fax servers, API and CMIS, and mobile. So it intelligently identifies the document types and the metadata in the file, and it will deliver this to a system like Alfresco, and that's where the value is created. So we work with all sorts of verticals in all sorts of use cases, but we have particular success in banking, financial services, and insurance sector. We hope that organisations like Bristol City Council, as we have many successful projects with hospitals and local government, will continue to share best practices so that other councils can benefit from their innovative approach using Alfresco and Ephesoft. Document-driven processes do continue to grow, and as you know, automating the process with document management and BPM is common practice. So many companies, though, still leverage costly employees to manually enter these documents, and this leaves more than 80% of the intelligence trapped inside the unstructured document. And imaging and mailroom teams can exceed 150 employees to ingest this content, and human resources, accounts payable, new account opening, and claims processing departments are all examples of where these problems exist. So if you're going to remember 3 aspects of this presentation, I would like it to be automation, speed, and value. So processing documents manually is an expensive and time-consuming endeavour, as you know, and Ephesoft can automate the classification and data collection process for you. Ephesoft extracts the critical information from your physical and electronic documents in record time without the need for adding separator sheets or barcodes. Ephesoft adds value to your documents as well by automatically capturing and extracting content vital to your business and speeding up paper-to-process activities and improving customer response. So basically, Ephesoft saves businesses money by providing automation and a streamlined computerized processing step. So this is just another pretty diagram from our marketing department to show you that we've started projects on one particular use case in many organizations. They've seen the success of that project and then used Ephesoft in other departments. And one single subscription can be used to actually allow departments to operate independently with no interference from each other on any different use case. So accounts payable, human resources, business process, whatever the department is. So here, just to show you, this is how Ephesoft works. So we actually read the entire invoice. All the keywords that you've asked Ephesoft to look for, it will pick up, whether it be under invoice number or invoice number in this format. And if you've applied a rule where the keyword needs to have a 4 to 8 digit number next to it, this is what will be extracted. So no more keying data and no templates needed. So if I give you an example of a typical workflow with Alfresco being connected to your email, with Ephesoft working in the background, there is a way of having an approval process based on, again, rules you've set to set up this workflow, where there is a validation to make sure the invoice has the correct amount, and that's done with the ERP or the AP system. And Alfresco's core components are handling all these email, task, and metadata updates. Part of this workflow could have a signature, and this would lead you to the final check, and as part of the workflow, a PO paid tag will be added to your document, and the PO will be moved from the new invoice folder to the paid folder, and then a paid date tag will be added. And this is the end of the process. So a very simple process showing you the workflow between Ephesoft and Alfresco. So what is different and why are we better? Firstly, we eliminate the click charges that many legacy software providers actually adopt. So this actually discourages users to use the software as they know they will have to pay more. Our pricing is really based on the number of CPUs that your organization needs. And one 4-core CPU is actually capable of handling between 3 and 5 million pages per year, as long as users aren't scanning too much at certain times. So please don't try and run 1 million images in a day. There is a physical limit on a 4-core CPU, and you don't want smoke coming out of your server. So all the features that people require in a scanning project are generally available in Ephesoft's standard out-of-the-box version. We only need 1 or 2 samples to actually teach Ephesoft to read a file and identify a document, whereas legacy capture systems quite often need between 50 and 100. We have a thin client architecture, so this allows there to be a complete cost reduction with no IT-intensive setup, especially in the long run. And these compatibility issues are a thing of the past, making the initial setup and future upgrades as easy as pie. So you can use your preferred browser, Chrome, Internet Explorer, Safari or Firefox on any operating system. We use open standards. It's a Java-based product, making compatibility and integration much easier. We have tried to create the product to work in exactly the same way on Linux and Windows, so both platforms. We have use of OpenStar, OpenText RecoStar and Tesseract engines, and any scanner which has a Twain driver or a PaperStream driver is actually compatible with Ephesoft too. We are CMIS compliant, so any ECM or BPM or CRM system that's also CMIS compliant is compatible with Ephesoft, and we use open and RESTful APIs, so for loose coupling and without installing plugins. Thank you for listening.
Michael, thanks ever so much for the overview. If anybody listening today has any questions regarding this, can you just place them in the chat box and we'll address those one by one. Now over to Robin, who's going to share some hands-on experience of using these types of technologies in the pursuit of smarter working. Over to Robin.
Hello everyone, my name's Robin Lewis and I'm the Domain Manager for Electronic Document and Records Management at Bristol City Council, with responsibility for our Alfresco document management system, as well as other tools that work with it, such as Ephesoft Enterprise. My team is often referred to as the Competency Centre for EDRM, meaning we not only support and maintain the systems, but crucially, we always try and help staff across the organisation actually get the best out of these tools and the functionality they can offer. Alfresco and Ephesoft are both very powerful tools, but often we find staff don't get beyond using the basics of their own accord. So wherever time allows, we try to do a little bit extra by getting to know some of the work that goes on in the teams we engage with across the council, and then suggest functionality in the tools that could be used to help them improve the way they work. My belief is that whilst councils may be limited on budget currently, that doesn't mean we have to be limited on having good ideas and making smarter use of what we've already got available. To make this work, my team and I do need to spend a proportion of our time learning about the full scope of what the tools can do and keeping up to date with the new functionality as it's added. But the end result is that we can share this knowledge around our council and hopefully leverage a lot of extra value out of our investments in these enterprise tools. I'm now going to take you through a little background to our journey with these tools, and then I'll move on to some examples of how we're currently using them and some of our plans for the future. A few years ago, our ICT management team here at Bristol decided that rather than having lots of smaller separate document management systems across the council, we really needed a single common service for document management and collaboration that could be used by any team across the organisation who had such requirements. Alfresco was chosen as that document management system for the future, and several projects immediately started using this building block for their document management needs. One prime example was our private housing team, and a project they were involved in to allow landlords to electronically fill in and submit their complex HMO licensing forms back to us. The project realised that whilst many landlords will submit their forms electronically, there will always be a proportion who continue to use paper-based methods, and we needed a means to incorporate this into the same overall process, ending with the documents in Alfresco. This is where Ephesoft came in. It allows staff in that team to easily digitise any paper versions of the forms they receive back. It gets them to add the required metadata, and finally it routes these through to the correct location in Alfresco, right alongside the electronically submitted forms. The Ephesoft route is also used when any paper-based evidence is sent in by landlords, regardless of how they submitted their original form. So that's how we started off with Ephesoft at Bristol City Council, but at that point it was only being used by a team of no more than 20 people. If we fast forward a little bit, my team became involved with one of the larger programmes of work going on across our council currently, which is referred to as Bristol Workplace. This programme is all about shaping the council for the future so we can be more efficient, more flexible and serve Bristol in the best way possible. It involves helping people change the way they work and make better use of technology, something which aligns very well with what my team do anyway. The programme does also involve rationalising our property portfolio, but as we consolidate the number of offices we work from, a key challenge we face is the amount of information still stored in paper format. As a result of this, my team were given the task of putting together a method to allow the council to digitise vast volumes of archived paper such that it can be stored electronically in Alfresco rather than taking up valuable office space. Within the council, we already had experience of using an external scanning company to digitise files and extract metadata for specific service areas on a daily basis. But what we needed for this challenge was actually quite different. We needed a process that could be used to deal with large volumes of documentation for any different team across the council at very short notice. We quickly realised that given the scale of the task in hand and the relatively short timescales, there was no way we were going to be able to consider each team separately and pre-categorise all of their many document types. So instead, we needed to come up with a more generic solution that would still allow teams to organise their files within Alfresco such that they can easily find them again later. We soon realised that the Ephesoft tool that we were already using within the private housing team had all the functionality we needed and was crying out to be used more widely across the organisation to help with just this sort of challenge. To make this work, we get key staff in the business areas, who know their files best, to add standard header sheets to their files containing all the metadata needed to identify the files down the line. We try and minimise the effort needed at this stage by helping teams extract lists of case reference numbers or other things that they identify their files by, and using mail mergers and spreadsheets to actually generate the header sheets quickly and easily. Once the documents are ready, the scanning company can just scan everything exactly as they receive it and transfer it securely back to us. We don't need to pay them to manually search through each file looking for metadata, which is what had been done previously. The Ephesoft tool is trained to recognise the header sheets, split out the files as needed, and send them to the appropriate area in our Alfresco document management system with all of the relevant metadata attached. The beauty of this approach is that when a new team comes along needing to digitise files, there's actually very little that the scanning company need to change. Instead, at our end, we just train Ephesoft to recognise files for the new team. Ephesoft arranges its process definitions into things called batch classes. We now have a master template of this for archive scanning, with the majority of the process set up as we need it. And then when a new team comes along, we need to do little more than just copy it, change a few of the specifics for that team, such as where in Alfresco their documents are filed to. Ephesoft is capable of running all of these processes at the same time, so teams can send their files off in their own time to the scanning company, and Ephesoft knows exactly what to do with them when they come back again. The Ephesoft interface also makes it really easy for us to filter what's going on by different batch classes, so we as a team trying to control this can easily keep track of scanning progress for each of the different teams involved. We're actually still at quite an early stage progressing through the scanning overall. We estimate that we've completed about 500,000 pages so far across about 10 different teams and have many more in progress. We are, however, now well prepared to work with the next teams that the Bristol Workplace Programme highlight to us as they carry on around the organisation. The whole project of setting up the archive scanning has actually been quite interesting for me. When I started at the council some 10 years ago, my first role as an office administrator for one of our teams, one of my tasks on a Friday afternoon always involved being dispatched to an office on the other side of Bristol to hunt through filing cabinets for files that the team would need to use the next week. This was a very time-intensive process, so that's actually one of the teams that we've recently digitised files for, and it's quite rewarding for me to be able to see them now able to type just one reference number into Alfresco and immediately have those files back at their fingertips, or the names or other details of the cases they need to look up. It just reminds me of how far we've come since those days when I used to work on the team. It's worth saying that even with this use case, we're still not really touching some of the more advanced capabilities that Ephesoft has to offer, but it does allow us to meet the challenges in hand and get through large volumes of files far more efficiently than we would be able to otherwise. We've also learnt a lot about the other features and what else Ephesoft can do, ready for future challenges. As it happens, the next challenge actually came along fairly quickly. My team were asked to improve a very admin-intensive approvals process, with the caveat being that there wasn't actually any extra budget available to spend on anything new. The old process involved staff from across the whole council filling in free format forms, emailing them into a central admin team who then had to collate them, send them on for further approval centrally. With volumes of forms increasing all the time and people having to wait a long time for a response about whether their request had been approved, something needed to be done. We already knew that in addition to watching folder locations for files, Ephesoft also has a module that can watch mailboxes for incoming email content. We therefore designed a new Excel spreadsheet form that helps people fill in their requests with the correct information up front before emailing them onto a specific mailbox for their particular directorate. We set up a number of batch classes in Ephesoft that monitor these different email accounts automatically and process the files into corresponding folders in Alfresco. We're making use of some of the more advanced features in Ephesoft with this process. For example, the name used for the file in Alfresco is actually extracted and generated from answers given within the spreadsheet itself, and the documents are converted to PDF format before being stored in Alfresco, ensuring managers who approve the requests can easily view the files. All of the requests now exist as a specific file within Alfresco, and this allows managers to address them individually and make comments on the decisions, which are recorded forevermore. The original submitters can also look up the requests easily themselves to see where they've got to in the approvals process. We're also using some of the functionality in Alfresco at this stage. When the documents are finally approved, they automatically pick up a reference number within Alfresco, which saves the admin team having to assign those. As well as now having a clear audit trail of the requests, because they're all stored in Alfresco together with comments from the managers who made the decisions, we've also dramatically increased the speed at which the requests can be turned around. With the old process, it could take 2 weeks or more to get a response. Under the new process, it's actually sometimes possible now to get a response on the same day. This process was such a success that we soon received a request to set up something very similar for our recruitment team, and as already mentioned, setting this up in Ephesoft needed little more actually than just copying some previous batch classes, making some minor alterations specific to the new process, and then we were off again. So with those in place, we're already thinking about other use cases across the council can make use of this technology. We've got many other in fact, sort of document-based processes that involve files being emailed around. So we'll definitely be looking at getting some of those under control and helped out by Ephesoft. We may also use it in some data migration projects that we have coming up, where we have legacy document management systems with large volumes of files held in them. We could well use Ephesoft to help us manage the process of moving some of that content into Alfresco for the future. I hope this session has given you a useful insight into some of the different ways we're using Ephesoft to intelligently process and pass content into our Alfresco document management system, and how we've been trying wherever possible to improve the way our council works by thinking outside the box and making better use of the tools we already have available. Of course, technology is only one half of this. What we've always found important and tried to address from my team is that to get the best out of the tools, obviously staff really need to have some help in understanding the full functionality that's available. As I've already discussed, this does mean that we spend a fair proportion of our time actually working quite closely with the teams around the council to really get to the bottom of what it is they're doing, the challenges they face in their individual areas, and then, tailoring little sort of training and bespoke sessions with them to really help them progress with Alfresco and Ephesoft. That's all from me for now. I'm now going to hand back to Nav, who's going to talk about taking some questions.